the presidents to participate in.
Some are very enthusiastic about it. We've protected them from domestic. And we have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers. Great.
Y'all can watch my videos today because look at
him. On wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and other charges tied to the collapse of his crypto empire, which imploded in 2022 amid evidence of potential fraud. Once the poster boy in the crypto industry, SBF donating millions to Democratic politicians and some Republicans while lobbying for crypto-friendly regulations. Now the former crypto executive appears to be seeking clemency from President Trump. FBS using his social media accounts run through a proxy to praise President Trump and criticize the Biden administration. One February post praising President Trump's effort to lower prescription drug prices, quote, "Pharma gouges Americans on prescriptions. Trump RX is how you start to stop that. It's a huge step in the right direction. Now insurance companies need to get on board so that Americans don't have to choose between fair prices and insurance coverage." In a Saturday X post, SBF arguing that while oil prices have recently spiked, they remain significantly lower under President Trump compared to the Biden years, urging critics to, quote, "calm down." Politico reporting SBF is struggling to gain traction on Capitol Hill. Senator Bernie Moreno, Republican from Ohio, and a big-time crypto supporter, telling the outlet, quote, "The guy's a piece of shit. The guy shouldn't be pardoned. The guy should go to jail for a long, long time." Another crypto ally in Congress, Senator Cynthia Lummis, Republican of Wyoming, also throwing some cold water on a pardon effort, quote, "I hope the president doesn't fall for that. He hurt a lot of people. He should have to spend some time playing bad." President Trump granting clemency to other high-profile figures in the crypto world since retaking office, including online black market Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht and Binance founder Chang Peng CZ Zhao, who pleaded guilty to money laundering related charges.
I want to play a YouTube done tripping off anything possible. Trunk in the office, anything possible, my name. You don't rather go out there until you get to food.
Unfiltered and unapologetically.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Mark Halbert. This is the from Megan County. It's Tuesday, March 17th, 2026, and this is your AM update.
If we found half of the prohibitions taking place in this country, we would have much more involved.
The Trump administration task force targeting benefits fraud and following investigative
benefit fraud
scams inside Minnesota's welfare system.
I've been a big critic of all of the professional countries because they are the main
I got that goddamn doing a little freaking fraud. They ain't watching all that.
With reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and disgraced crypto founder Sam Bankman-Fried lobbying for presidential pardon in prison. The crypto industry's biggest allies in Congress say he should stay right where he is. All that and more coming up in just a moment here on your AM Update.
I'm Boomer Esiason, MVP quarterback. I learned early what happens when a family isn't protected. My mom died from cancer when I was 7. She was only 37 years old. I lost a part of me. The family struggled financially. So I promised myself my kids would never go through that. That's why having life insurance is so important. Ethos makes it fast, easy, and affordable to get life insurance. 100% online, no medical exam. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes.
What you mean, no way, gang?
You can get $1 million in coverage for around $30.
At first, I had that strawberry cobbler, but I was on buzzing. Then I got them 2 ham biscuits for $5. It has some programs. I'm bringing the clips up.
And online help questions required. Time spent on application may vary. Price may vary. Sample rate 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy non-smoker.
President Trump signing an executive order from the Oval Office yesterday creating a welfare benefits fraud task force.
I didn't even pay that much money for it.
Cracking down on fraud across government assistance programs.
About $11
The effort
for
was led by
everything.
Vice President J.D. Vance, with Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson as the vice chair and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller Minnesota's taxpayer-funded welfare programs potentially totaling billions. From the order, quote, there is strong reason to believe that similar problems exist in other states, including California, Illinois, New York, Maine, and Colorado. Such extensive undetected fraud that ignores it. The order directing the task force to, quote, coordinate and accelerate a comprehensive national strategy.
They're blanking out. Turn the heat on all damn day. They're blanking on for a second, but it's clear, bro. Blank it on. Blank it on. Put that motherfucking blanket on. Put that blanket on.
Taxpayer dollars. Just last month, President Trump nominating longtime federal prosecutor Colin McDonald to lead a newly created role at the Justice Department, Assistant Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement, tasked with coordinating major fraud investigations across the country. The push came after a wave of reporting on massive fraud.
Shit, they got a lot of that shit in the store, man. I used to be going to the stores, yeah, it's funny, but I go to the store too, but I don't know. Why you want to know what the gas is? Shit, you want to smoke? Nigga, you a pothead. You a pothead, nigga. Like, share, subscribe, man. Send me a super chat. I might smoke one with you. I don't feel like smoking, nigga. I'm already smoked this morning. High as fuck, boy. Smoked 2 blunts, man. Instant goddamn messenger drop on my car and did some dumb ass shit. Fuck that shit, nigga. I ain't gonna cap, boy. Nigga goddamn kind of frozy, rosy. Ear trying to coldy, rolly. Feeling like a trolley, rolly. Smoking on the gas when we rolly, rolly. I'm over here about to get high like holy moly. Oli, oli. Fuck them niggas, they owe me. Kobe. Looking on a nigga like Dobie.
We would have much more than a balanced budget.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller yesterday
I come through, punch a nigga in his head, food, kung fu, chop a nigga leg, what he gonna do? Never been a bitch, but I had to do what he do. Get to the money, other thing, do. Hey man, listen man, I know what y'all thinking, man, like, what the fuck is he talking about? I wasn't paying attention. I said, pull up on an old man, low man. Had to do what it do, we do. Hit him in the head, who we do. Let them make a shoot, who we do. That nigga over there, like a mystery Scooby-Doo. Ooh. I said, I ain't going over your head, man. Barred, cuz. I ain't never break it down for him again. Smoking on that gas with that last one again. Nigga talking crazy what they did know again. I just playing. But I'm hiding the motherfucker, man. I would go to sleep, but I can't go. I'm over here looking like I'm about to pass out, but hell no. I gotta hit the damn road, get a hotel or something. These niggas is lame as fuck. Why the hell they be flying?
We started to figure out one big hole that existed is that the agencies of the government weren't actually talking to each other. So Treasury would have evidence of financial fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Justice about it. Health and Human Services had evidence of Medicaid fraud, but wasn't talking to the Department of Treasury about it. So what this executive order does is force the entire apparatus of the federal government to do 2 things. Stop the fraud in the American taxpayer and make sure that the benefits that ought by right go to American citizens go to American citizens and not to fraudsters.
President Trump offering a sweeping update Monday on Operation Epic Fury in Iran, saying
I'm an alt-right Republican.
7,000 targets across the country have been struck, claiming U.S. attacks have cut ballistic missile launches by 90%, drone attacks
for
by
white people.
95%, and destroyed more than 100 naval vessels, along with dozens of mine-laying ships threatening commercial traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. Mr. Trump now urging other nations, especially those heavily dependent on oil shipments through the strait, to join in the effort, keeping the critical waterway open.
We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait far more than ours. We get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait. Some countries get much more. Japan gets 95%. China gets 90%. Many of the Europeans get quite a bit. South Korea gets 35%. So we want them to come and help us with the Strait.
The president criticizing several allies for what he described as reluctance to participate in.
Come on, y'all. Go blow these niggas up, y'all. You trying to get don't show any oil too? Maybe don't blow niggas up. That's what he's saying. No, I'm trying to say, hey, we need some help to blow these motherfuckers up. Y'all want to keep this motherfucker up?
Outside sources, and
what are you talking about now?
Enthusiastic. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers.
45,000 soldiers.
From harm's way. And we have done a great job. And well, we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir. I said, you mean for 40 years we're protecting you and you don't want to get involved in something that very minor? I just want the fake news media and everybody else to remember that was said, because I've been a big critic of all of the protecting of countries, because I know that we'll protect them, and if we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time.
Despite the tensions, the president saying the Iranian threat has been largely neutralized.
Donald Trump said, since Venezuela want to help us out with this little bush-ass oil thing, we ain't never having them up with that again. He said that shit.
After reaching highs of over $106, as President Trump says some other nations are responding to calls for assistance, though declining to pay
what the fuck?
Mr. Trump also highlighted U.S. oil production, pointing to expanded drilling efforts, including new activity in Venezuela.
We're number one in oil by double now. We drill, baby, drill.
Get the fuck out of here.
We're double any other nation.
You better park on that shit for a long ass time.
Any other nation, and that doesn't include Venezuela, who's been great. By the way, literally millions of barrels of oil are being taken out, and it's been a great help, and it's been to their great benefit. But it's a tremendous oil source, and we're stepping it up very rapidly. The big companies are going in, and they will actually numbers in a pretty short period of time. Numbers that they've never been able to do, we'll be doing.
What?
There's a lot of oil.
Donald.
The president asked about the possibility of making a deal with Iran. Mr. President, you've said that Iran does want to make a deal. Now, in the third week of this bombing campaign, what would that deal look like? What are
Please don't bomb us.
that you're making of the
They want to make a deal. They're talking to our people. I don't know if they say that to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Don't forget, they are a country that for years, I didn't know this until recently, they're a country based on disinformation, using disinformation plus AI, and that's a terrible situation. They're negotiating, and we always talk. Somebody said, well, would you talk? Why would you even talk to them? I talk to everybody, because sometimes good things come out of it. But I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. I don't know if they're ready yet. And we don't even know their leaders. Look, all of their leaders are dead, as far as we know. But they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with.
Coming up here, a disgraced crypto kingpin pushing for a presidential pardon, but even some of Congress's biggest crypto allies want nothing to do with it.
Iran's all dead.
The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments are on Sirius XM. Experience the excitement with Westwood One's broadcast of the men's tournament.
This place is in disbelief.
And catch the women's tournament all month long on your radio.
Takes it home for two and her 40th point of the night.
Plus shows on College Sports Radio Channel 84. For schedules, go to SiriusXM.com/sports or search March Madness on the SiriusXM app.
Hi, I'm Sherry with Life Source Water. Every day begins and ends with water. It's in your coffee, your child's bath, the glass on your nightstand. It's the one thing your family uses constantly, yet most people never question it. A Life Source whole house system treats every drop of your water, giving your family clean, conditioned water from every tap. Save up to $1,500 during our 42nd anniversary sale. Call our local factory at 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com. Ends March 31st.
Warranty limitations apply.
Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he's known, the disgraced founder of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX and trading firm Alameda Research, now facing opposition in Congress as he pursues a possible pardon from President Trump. SBF convicted in 2023 on wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and other charges tied to the collapse of his crypto empire, which imploded in 2022 amid evidence of potential fraud. Once the poster boy of the crypto industry, SBF donating millions to Democratic politicians and some Republicans while lobbying for crypto-friendly regulations. Now the former crypto executive appears to be seeking clemency from President Trump. FBS using his social media accounts run through a proxy to praise President Trump and criticize the Biden administration. One February post praising President Trump's effort to lower prescription drug prices, quote, "Pharma gouges Americans on prescriptions. Trump RX is how you start to stop that. It's a huge step in the right direction. Now insurance companies need to get on board so that Americans don't have to choose between fair prices and insurance coverage." In a Saturday X post, SPF arguing that while oil prices have recently spiked, they remain significantly lower under President Trump compared to the Biden years, urging critics to, quote, "calm down." Politico reporting SPF is struggling to gain traction on Capitol Hill. Senator Bernie Moreno, Republican from Ohio, and a big-time crypto supporter, telling the outlet, quote, "The guy's a piece of shit. The guy shouldn't be pardoned. The guy should go to jail for a long, long time." Another crypto ally in Congress, Senator Cynthia Lummis, Republican of Wyoming, also throwing some cold water on a pardon effort, quote, "I hope the president doesn't fall for that. He hurt a lot of people. He should have to spend some time contemplating that." President Trump granted clemency to other high-profile figures in the crypto world since retaking office, including online black market Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht and Binance founder Changpeng CZ Zhao, who pleaded guilty to money laundering-related charges. However, SBF's effort appearing to be a tougher battle. President Trump telling the New York Times in January that he does not plan to pardon Bankman-Fried, asked directly about the possibility of the president responding, quote, "I don't know him at all, no." All right, that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Mark Halpern, host of Next Up. Catch the Megyn Kelly Show today live on SiriusXM's Megyn Kelly Channel 111 at noon East on YouTube/Megyn Kelly and on all the podcast platforms. Hey everybody, welcome in. I'm Mark Halpern, and this is the morning meeting powered by Two-Way here on SiriusXM Channel 111. In a moment, you'll hear from Larry O'Connor, Hyman Moore, and myself run through the day morning meeting style with a big focus again on the conflict with Iran and the wake of the successful operation by Israel and the United States to take out two more very, very senior Iranian leaders. In some ways, taking out these two guys is bigger than taking out the Ayatollah. This guy was the de facto leader of the government to the extent they had command and control still operational. He was considered the man who was doing it. So in a moment you'll hear, we'll play back the morning meeting, 9 a.m. Eastern time on the Two-Way platform right here on SiriusXM, Channel 111, the Megyn Kelly channel at 10 East. And then afterwards, love to hear from you. With time for your calls at the bottom of the hour. Give me a call then, 833-446-3496. This day, she's the president, spending a lot of his time in Washington celebrating St. Patrick's Day. All presidents do it. And at the same time, he does have press access today, an opportunity to answer questions. Yesterday, he talked quite a bit, two separate press availabilities about the war in Iran and a bunch of other stuff. So we'll see how much we hear from the president today. And then around the world, we'll talk about, you'll hear in a moment on the morning meeting, other countries are looking to try to solve this, try to settle it. And
is there going to be some sort of diplomatic track, either directly with the United States and Iran? There's been rumblings about that. Or will we see other countries, maybe a Gulf state country, maybe Europe, somebody step in, maybe Saudi, somebody step in to try to broker a deal to end this. And right now, in the wake of, again, the elimination of 2 more Iranian leaders, a big question is who in Iran could make a deal? Let's say the Iranian government, such as this, decides that we got to end this thing. We have to find an off-ramp and give President Trump a lot of what he's looking for. Who actually could make the deal? And this is a critical time. A lot of pressure on the president from some quarters to end the war. But both Israel and the United States suggesting yesterday, directly and indirectly, that this conflict is going to go on for at least another couple weeks, maybe a month, and war's unpredictable, maybe more. We're also going to talk about the primary day in Illinois, a lot of interesting Democratic primaries, and there is a new ad in the Maine Senate Democratic primary that is extremely hard-hitting. You probably haven't seen it anywhere else, so tune in, stay with us, and you'll hear an extraordinarily tough ad against Graham Plattner, the Democratic kind of upstart candidate, the populist candidate. Janet Mills, the incumbent Democratic governor, who is running against him in the primary, has put together one tough ad. So listen to the morning meeting after the break, and then come back and give me a call. Number is 833-44-MEGAN, 833-446-3496. Quick break, and then Hyman Moore, Larry O'Connor, and myself will take you through the day, the daybook, full conversation here on the morning meeting powered by Two-Way. Stay tuned.
Hey, it's Alex Cooper, host of Call Her Daddy. I have had this Sirius XM music channel for about a year now called Unwell Music. I pick all songs, so you already know the vibe. Throwbacks, Disney, Miley, Selena, Demi, Hillary, Justin, Britney, Rihanna. I'm with you all day on the channel, giving you inspiration. Unwell Music is on Sirius XM Channel 3 or on the Sirius XM app.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today. Call 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Golfers over 50 need to hear this. You have a problem no one is talking about. Longevity. Are you losing distance, dealing with pain or discomfort, or losing mobility? Maybe you can't play 2 days in a row, or are worried about surviving a golf trip with your buddies. Par for Success has helped over 15,000 golfers just like you. With science-backed, one-on-one online golf fitness coaching that fits your schedule. Tell Father Time to come back later. Take the free 5-minute assessment to get your answers at parforsuccess.com. That's par4success.com.
Attention small business owners needing financing. Are you frustrated with a slow process and high interest rate quotes from your bank? Then you need the small business experts at Swish Funding. Our simple application process takes just minutes and affordable funding as soon as 1 business day. At Swish Funding, we focus on your business cash flow, not your personal credit score. And we're ready to help with funding from $5,000 to $5 million. If you've been in business over a year with a monthly income of at least $50,000, you can get the funding you need with no collateral. Swish Funding provided over $150 million in the last 12 months for funding for expansion, inventory, increased overhead, even slow cash flow to small businesses all over America. Restaurants, plumbing, landscaping, trucking, healthcare providers, and more are getting the funds they need fast. Applying takes just minutes with funds in your account within 24 hours. Go to swishfunding.com today. That's SWISH funding.com. Swishfunding.com.
Cozy Earth, once again, I say the good folks at Cozy Earth, you're not marketing enough to dogs. Here's the latest email I got from a member of the Two-Way community. I'll describe it vividly for those listening to the podcast. This is from Lynn, Hi, Mark. Our rescue pit bull, Charlie, thanks you for recommending this outrageously luxurious blanket. And there you see Charlie, the pit bull, sprawled out on a massive bubble cuddle blanket. You can get the bubble cuddle blanket, everything else on the CozyEarth.com website at 20% off by using the promo code MORNING. Thank you for thinking about buying something from Cozy Earth. If you don't like the bubble cuddle blanket for yourself or for your dog or child or spouse, try something else. Try the towels, the sheets, the socks, the pants, everything available to you. Cozy Earth, designed with natural, breathable, temperature regulating materials. The sheets are magical. They'll cool you when you need to be cooled, and they'll keep you warm when you need to be warm. Right now, discover how care in every detail transforms simple routines into moments of true comfort and ease. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code MORNING for 20% off. All right, here we go, gentlemen. The president today. First, let's look at the pool and covering the president today. GB News is the secondary TV correspondent. That's a bunch of foreigners, right? That's like
they've recently opened their DC operation.
Okay, well, I don't know. I want to be in the Prime Minister's pool. If they could be in our pool. And then Center Square, new media. You guys know what that is, Larry?
I believe Paul Lind started that years ago.
The Center Square. That's right. In the modern Hollywood squares, who had the Center Square?
Whoopi Goldberg, I believe.
Whoopi. Good call.
And then, or maybe Jim J. Bullock.
I think Jim J. Bullock on the days Whoopi could not be there. Yeah. Larry, you're all over it. All right, here's the president's schedule. Again, largely about Ireland. I don't understand why. Once again, 8 a.m. executive time, which means, again, Mr. President, thank you for spending your morning with us. And then he's got 10:45, participates in the greeting with, how do you pronounce that thing, Larry? The Dash?
Oh, I cannot. I can't do the Gaelic thing.
Oh, how do you pronounce that guy's name?
Ambassador.
Yeah, the guy from Ireland. Huh? T-Sock. The T-Sock of Ireland at 10:45, 11 participates in a bilateral meeting in the Oval with the pool there. So we could hear from the president at 11. He could give, like he did yesterday, 2 press conferences. Friends of Ireland luncheon on the Hill at 12:10. We'll see how the Democrats treat him. The Republicans will slap his back literally and figuratively. 2:30 policy meeting, closed press. 4 o'clock signing time, closed press. 5 o'clock back to Ireland stuff. Greeting with the Deputy Prime Minister of Northern Ireland. 5:05 greeting back with the T-Sock. And then 5:20, my favorite thing, he participates in the Shamrock Bowl presentation. The Vice President, as I said, meeting with the T-Sock and his wife, Mrs. Mary Martin. She was incredible as Larry Hagman's mom.
And Peter Pan.
And Peter Pan.
And oh God, what else was it? Nellie Forbush of South Pacific. I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair.
Yeah. Valley High will find you, Larry.
I told you I was drunk.
Yeah. St. Patrick's Day breakfast at the Vice President's house was not invited. Capitol Hill, Larry, there was no bad weather. There was no. You're not in D.C., are you? There was no bad weather.
Oh no, it wasn't to the extent that they promised. There were no tornadoes, but we had some. Our wind was pretty rough, and we had some sideways rain for about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Okay. My group text says the meteorologists and the TGC unions are in cahoots.
Yeah, that's funny. House Republicans are getting a briefing on the plans for the America's 250th anniversary at this hour. Then they have their regular conference meeting. Mike Johnson and the leadership press conference at 10 a.m. Eastern time, all Eastern time, by the way. There's, according to Axios, Steve Witkoff's going to be at the Hill at some point, briefing a small bipartisan group of senators on Iran. That should be interesting amidst rumors and reports that he's been texting with the Iranian foreign minister. Democrat House leaders hold their weekly press conference at 10:45. Already talked about the president going up to the Hill. House Democrats caucus meeting at 2 o'clock. Chuck Schumer hosts a roundtable with Democratic senators and energy and utility experts on how the Trump administration's policies are driving up energy prices at 3:15. The head of STRATCOM testifies before House Armed Services Subcommittee on the posture of the strategic forces going into 2027. And the annual congressional football game is at 7 o'clock tonight at Nats Park. You guys ever been to that?
No. I didn't realize they had one until 2 days ago.
Is it full on tackle?
I didn't realize this game happened until 2 days ago. Yeah.
It's got to be flag football. Is it actual football or soccer?
It says football. Michael, see if you can find any video of that thing. I would like to see that.
I think it's American football.
Primary elections already underway in the land of Lincoln. We'll talk about that. A lot of Democratic contests people are interested in. President Zelensky is in the UK for some Indian food and to meet with Keir Starmer. Not sure about the Indian food, but he's meeting with Keir Starmer. And the Prime Minister of the UAE is holding talks on the Iran war with Jordan's King Abdullah in Dubai today, to be a fly on the wall. Well, they waste a lot of time talking about that. And the Fed starts its two-day meeting. Decision expected tomorrow. Nobody expects their cut rates anytime this year, really, at this point, despite the president's insistence that they do. Overnight. Somebody texted me that's economics. We'll talk about this in a minute. But oil is at $95 a barrel. I think it was slightly higher than that earlier. But it's still, not going towards 200 quickly or at all. And the Dow futures are up right now. So again, another day of defiance by the markets of the doomsayers. Okay. Overnight, Israel claimed to have killed 2 people. No one seems to be disputing. I think the Iranians maybe even confirmed it, including, you can put up the headline for this, Ali Larijani, who has been one of, it's hard to describe, maybe kind of like a prime minister, I don't really know, but in charge of the security, top official, and then also they killed another guy that they say the head of the oppressive Bajid force. These are 2 guys who obviously knew they could be targeted, and Larijani was like strolling around on live TV, so a couple days ago, maybe, or yesterday, so he wasn't like living in bunkers. But Larry, people are saying that this is potentially a major development. Is it symbolic? Is it substantive? What does this mean?
I think it's both. It's symbolic to the people. I've seen a lot of videos of expatriates who said this guy was a terror and he was responsible for a lot of the violence that we saw against civilians and protesters. But I think it's also tactically important because reports are that he was making a lot of the decisions absent any other supreme leader, directives. And so this could actually create more chaos in their command structure. And it could lead us closer to potentially some sort of negotiated deal or a surrender or something.
Okay. Yeah, look, I agree with Larry. I know we're going to talk about in-game in a little bit, but this may be the first couple steps toward that. And we talked about this last week. Once we identified and sort of take out who's been commanding these forces, I think we get a lot closer to them coming to the table and ready to negotiate. So this is a huge, both symbolic and tactical success for this mission, I would say.
Because who wants to take their place? I mean, who wants to step? Okay, I'll take this job now because they're the number one target.
Particularly when the president is threatening you every day. You better not meet.
Yeah. Here's someone who may be attractive to the United States and to Israel to negotiate with. This interview is from yesterday. By the way, two-way has expanded. This is basically the Iranian version of the morning meeting. Heavy licensing fee paid with oil, which for some reason we haven't received yet. Anyway, this is the current speaker of the Iranian parliament. Again, he may be someone who the U.S. and Israel can do business with. The president's big demands, I can tell you, are going to be get the nuclear material out of Iran and American access to some of their oil revenue. And that's going to be a big step, along with everything else. That's going to be a big step. Here's a little bit of the Iranian speaker talking, maybe you want to interpret his tone and his words, talking peacefully about trying to find an accommodation to end the war.
ما بدونیم که این زنجیره رو ما دیگه قبول نمی کنیم از این جهته این چرخه باید بشکنه یعنی باید تحقیق از سر جمهوری اسلامی و منطقه برداشته باشه نباید خطر جنگ باشه و نباید اینها این کار رو انجام بدن این خواسته قطعی و روشن ماست لذا اینکه از موضوع
His tone's not being conciliatory, and some people are telling me that he's a potential interlocutor. But the other is if they're making another season of that Claire Danes show, I would cast this guy as something. He just the way he's dressed, the way he looks, the beard. Homeland.
This is the Speaker of the House, right?
Yeah, this is the Speaker of the House.
The Speaker of the House, brother. It seemed, but by the way, also, I spend way too much attention on my set design if they're able to get away with
right?
This.
It's pretty, but for wartime, it's pretty good. His name is Galibaf, and it's possible he'll step up. They got to find somebody.
But no, the key, assuming the translation is right, Mark, the fact that he said we have no interest in escalating, I think, is definitely an opening here and an indication, because that's the last thing we've heard from any of the people that are being in front of the camera right now on behalf of the regime.
Who's he speaking? Who's he speaking on behalf of? Who's he speaking?
That guy's known as the Mark Halpert of Iran. I don't know what his name is. Okay, why do you ask?
But Mark, can we trust that he's speaking on behalf of the people of Iran, or he's speaking? I mean, so I don't know. I think it's still so questionable there. Who is actually who's leading? Whose ethos are we following? And what does all of this mean? So who do we even negotiate with?
Yeah, we should have some sort of countdown, not countdown, a count-up clock, day, whatever. We still haven't seen the new supreme leader, right? Like that guy needs to surface before we long. So let's talk about endgame scenarios. Again, all these rumors about Steve Witkoff talking to the Iranians, some of the Arab Gulf states trying to have conversation. I'll just say, if there's a diplomatic track, is it Witkoff? Is it first through Oman or UAE? Where are you looking for the most fruitful diplomatic track?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would start with Witkoff. I want to see what his thoughts are and what the negotiation sort of structure will be. I think he's going to set sort of the tone for where they begin. But look, I think, based on what the president said about and encouraging allies and friends to get involved, that's going to be a big piece of how this conversation actually starts too. In the UAE, they've been beat down as much as they've been trying to cover up how bad it's been over there. But they're in the middle of this as well, and so I think all of that's going to be taken into account. Obviously, Jordan's going to be a part of this conversation. And then Qatar, you can't ever discount how much Qatar is part of these sort of conversations as well. And Qatar has been such a broker of Middle East talks that I can't see them not being a part of this conversation.
Larry, I don't cover the State Department full time, but have you seen Marco Rubio on camera in like 5 days?
I made a joke on my morning show that he's already at the Bay of Pigs putting on his camo war paint and getting ready for the next assault in Cuba. No, he hasn't.
I know he's focused. I know he's focused on that. And I know he's been somewhat deferential or delegational maybe to Witkoff. But what just strikes me, this is what strikes me. You hear all the military commanders and they're talking about the prosecution of the war. And when the president talks about a possible deal, he's not very specific, and he stopped trying to inspire the Iranian people to rise up pretty much. Wouldn't it make sense? And again, I'm just asking. I'm not being critical and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's giving speeches that I haven't seen covered. But shouldn't there be some voice from the United States every day saying we're not at war with the Iranian people? Our war is with your oppressive government. We'll happily settle this war if the following conditions are met. Give us your nuclear material, whatever. Like, shouldn't that be part of the dialogue? Or is it too soon for that? Because we're just about to war.
I think it is too soon for that. I think that we're still in the sort of the pummeling part of that.
But can we do both? What's wrong with doing both simultaneously?
Well, because the aggression in the Strait of Hormuz continues, and I think that they want to see some victory there, or at least some backing off militarily before they start discussing, okay, here's who we'll talk to and here's how we'll do it. Oh, by the way, and Marco Rubio has been engaged. The president has put his players on the board, and Rubio's spot right now is to communicate with the Senate. He's still very popular, somewhat popular with the Senate, and he's been doing overtures up and down Pennsylvania Avenue from Foggy Valley.
Yeah. Good point. Endgame. I mean, not endgame. The straight, right? We just talked endgame. The straight here. Where are we going here? Other countries don't seem keen to participate. There is American military efforts to degrade Iran's capacity to hurt ships. Other countries are looking for solutions, but don't seem to want to participate in a coalition. So, it's Tuesday. When will ships go through the strait with impunity? Anytime soon?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think anytime soon. Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
I'm still aiming around the Easter time. I think we've got a few weeks. And then I think that we're going to go. And don't forget, France got an 8 out of 10 yesterday from the president, which is, for France, is pretty good in terms of their.
And you also have to admit, I mean, look, the president's asking these countries and these friends for assistance now, but a lot of them are saying that he didn't give them a call and give them a heads up that he was going to make this strike. So I think there's some hurt feelings there. But at the end of the day, these countries need this strait to work and operate much more than we do. A lot of their oil reserves coming from there, so they don't really have much of a choice. And I think, the president, we always, I sometimes say that he doesn't have a vision or a plan, but it's quite clear that his going to Venezuela before going over to Iran was a part of this master plan. And so America's going to be in a much better position than some of these other countries, and so he's put them in an almost impossible place to not come in and help us get this thing back open.
And I still think that China is the missing card here. I'm going to continue to ride that horse, that China needs that strait open more than others, and I still think that they have some influence there.
Yeah, I agree.
So the summit was delayed. The president said maybe a month. The Chinese want a summit. They want a summit that's organized. Undercovered, the New York Times had a story. I didn't see it anywhere else. That what Bessent was talking about, and what's his name, Jameson Greer, is they're going to form like a committee to keep sort of more directly in touch on trade and have rules of the road for certain sectors. And that'd be a pretty big deliverable, and it's what the Chinese would love because they love organized things, and they love regularity and all of that. Larry, you said that the Chinese need the strait open. Some of the people I'm talking to disagree. It's a higher priority for the Europeans, for the Japanese, for the Indians, because the Chinese are getting some oil through, and they've got their own reserves. So here's my question: between now and the summit, is there Iran business that the president's going to do with Xi, or basically not? Is he going to be in touch? What does he want from Xi now?
Yeah, I think through Bessent. It is interesting that Bessent is sort of, he seems to be heading up the entire Chinese delegation, doesn't he? And I think
he's got the action on that.
I just learned of that from you just now. I had not seen that.
It's a really interesting story. I'd go read it. It's a New York Times story. I've never seen this floated. And basically it seemed like that was going to be the big deliverable, and maybe it still will be at the summit.
I do think some of this delay is on our side as well. I mean, look, the Supreme Court is taking some of the president's tools away as it relates to tariffs, and I think particularly the 301. And so as they continue negotiation and set the summit for China, the president obviously wants to go in with a new toolbox, particularly potential tariffs that he can employ if it gets to that place. So I think they're back at the table trying to figure out which tools they can use, particularly for China and other Asian countries.
Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, just as in the wake of the tariffs, the economy took a hit, but the markets took a hit, but didn't go insane in terms of crashing. Right now, as I said before, Dow futures up. We're 8 minutes away from the open. Oil still is below $100 a barrel, up above where it was before the conflict, but not headed towards 200 right now. And the president's plausibly right. When the conflict ends, oil could come down. It could come down substantially, particularly if the United States makes the deal that I think the president wants to take some of the Iranian oil for the United States. It's some combination of substantive belief that the president and his team know what they're doing, some belief that the president will taco and the war will end, but also a belief that the war will end whether you want to call it taco or not. And I believe some sense of agreement with Mr. Kevin Hassett, who went on CNBC this morning to talk up the economy yet again. 110, please.
The U.S. economy is still through this fundamentally strong, that we're still seeing strong signs of productivity growth. We had the Business Roundtable CEOs in town in Washington about a week ago, and everybody was talking about how solid things look. And so the other thing to mention is that Iran's strategy appeared to be that they could hurt the U.S. economy, and then that would make President Trump slow down. In fact, they're not hurting the U.S. economy very much at all. While gas prices are higher, the economy as a whole is sound. And there's no way that President Trump's going to back down until he sees this through to the end.
Simon, there's two pieces that are being widely read. One in Al Jazeera's website by an academic, and one in The Atlantic. Very bullish on how the war is going and saying we're in the military phase now. people who say this is a disaster or a quagmire are wrong. And then the economy, which is not cratering. I continue to listen to Democratic members of Congress, governors, talking down the war, saying no end game, disaster for the economy, etc. I continue to ask you and other Democrats this question: isn't this potentially a problem if this ends well for the United States? Won't Democrats look like they were, foolish and timid in the face of a very aggressive move by the president?
Well, look, I think every now and again, some things just shouldn't be political. And so if this thing does end well and our country comes out on top, that should be good for everybody. And so I don't think, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, you should look at that from a political perspective. And so if we can bring these costs down, we can get some more oil, we can bring the gas prices down and set people up for a better life, that's good for everybody.
I hear you saying that, but just if you listen to the senators from Connecticut, for instance, they say the President of the United States is destroying America, it's destroying the Middle East, destroying our economy. I mean, what are they going to say if that turns out not to be true?
Well, we don't know yet, and we don't know if that's not going to be true yet. So I think what they're saying is, it seems like the president doesn't have a grand plan for what he's trying to accomplish in the Middle East. He said a year ago that he had gone in and he had completely obliterated any capability of nuclear, any nuclear capability in Iran. Here we are using that as a tactic to get into this war right now. And so I think Democrats don't trust the president. They don't believe the president is doing it for the right reasons. And let's just be quite frank, the president has not given them any reason to trust them. And he doesn't go to Capitol Hill and talk to Democrats. And so what are they supposed to do? Go in and say, yes, the president's great, he's amazing, let's trust him? This is not the way it works. It's okay to have a strong opposition party in this country. It's okay to have a strong opposition party that is going to stand to the president and say, hey, sir, maybe you're not thinking about this, the full length of it. And so I don't admonish Democrats for saying what they're saying right now. If it turns out that things happen to be okay after this insurgency's over, then that's fine. Then we'll move on and we'll figure it out. But if it does not, I think Democrats are going to go on record and say, we were sounding this alarm very early on, and we believe that the president did not take the right direction. Now, here's what we're looking at. 3 weeks, $11 billion, 13 Americans have been killed. And so it's going to be hard to use those metrics as we get more into the midterms, more into this year, as an indicator for success.
Larry.
I think Democrats might be playing the same sort of political gamble that Republicans are, which is ultimately the midterms are not going to be decided based on foreign policy and the military incursions. So, if Trump ends up being successful and the Democrats are on the losing end of it, oh well, it doesn't matter if the economy is stupid. That said, I think that their real political liability is the fact that they're halting all progress with regard to funding the Department of Homeland Security at a time of this military. That suggests that they can't be trusted with power, responsibility, and the majority. And if the Republicans were adept politically, and that is a huge if right now, they would make more hate out of that than they are.
Right.
I wish they would.
I think that's a good point, Larry, because that's one of the things that keep me up at night, honestly, and particularly as the homeland itself becomes a little bit more fraught, and we have all these incidents that are popping up. This is the issue that Democrats have got to be very careful about, particularly this week, and how they're discussing this on the Senate floor.
What happened to the kind of refrain that the president needs to explain why he did this more? That was like a drumbeat of a thing, and you hear that occasionally. Is it because everybody's focused on the strait? Is it because the war's going better now by some measures? Where did that debate go?
From my perspective, it looks like they were just throwing whatever against the wall and see what would stick. First, there was no imminent threat. Next, he hasn't made the case to the American people. Then it was, they keep changing their reasons for doing this.
That's partly true, but
whatever works, they stick with. Whatever doesn't, they move on.
But even some Republicans were saying it, and now I just don't hear that right now. All right, J.D. Vance, we do this quick. Just if you think in pure 2028 prison, nothing else. He spoke yesterday. There's a story in the Atlantic about him, comparing him to Mike Pence. Just pure 2028. As the war so far, for his prospects of not just being the nominee, but getting like the president, hurt him, helped him, or no change? Here's the Atlantic headline. J.D. Vance learns what Mike Pence already knows. The vice president is realizing that signing on with Donald Trump might seem like a shortcut to the top, but it's actually a guarantee of humiliation. Larry, has the war so far hurt his chances of being president in 28, helped it, or no change?
Taking into account that this is the Atlantic, I think if anything has hurt him, it's been the rise of Marco Rubio. I don't think J.D. Vance is helped or hurt in terms. You're talking about the nomination, right?
No, becoming president, meaning both winning the nomination and winning the general. Helped him, hurt him, or no change?
I honestly don't think that it has affected him. I think, if anything, Marco Rubio has been helped by the events of the last 3 or 4 months. But
helped him, hurt him, or no change?
I think being the vice president ultimately will help him. And I talk to many Republicans all the time, and they seem to think that he's still in a really good position. But what I am looking forward to seeing, and I would judge in a couple of weeks and a couple of months, Marco Rubio cannot go out and campaign in the midterms, but J.D. Vance can. And so I'm looking to see how J.D. Vance responds to being out in the states again. He's going to campaign far more than President Trump can. He's going to essentially, if I were him, like Kamala Harris tried to do, build these really great relationships with these members of Congress, those who are running for Senate, the governors. And so he's going to go out there and build a spider web that actually may be much more fruitful than we can see right now.
All right, one more Iran thing, and then 2 more quick topics, and then to your questions. So again, if you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand. If you've never raised your hand today, it could be the day where you get right in the conversation. Today is March 17th. You guys both know what March 20th is, right? You guys both know March 20th?
First day of spring.
Here in the United States, Larry, but that's just part of your jingoistic, isolationist America first attitude. Do you know what it is in Iran? Do you know what it is in Iran, March 20th? Put it up on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Called to my attention this morning. Iran's New Year is March 20th. It's called, I don't know how to pronounce that, Nowruz. It's Iranian or Persian New Year's Day, historically preserved by Iranian people, now celebrated by ethnicities worldwide. It's based on the Northern Hemisphere spring equinox, first day of the new year on the Iranian calendar. It's March 20th this year, and it's like a 2-week-long celebration. Anybody think this is going to affect the war? Will the president pause the bombing? Pause the bombing?
No. He started the bombing in the beginning of Ramadan.
Yeah.
So I don't suppose he's going to have any.
But it could be an excuse. If Steve Witkoff says, "Hey, let's give peace a chance," it could be an excuse. I'm just saying, put it on your calendars, folks. March 20th. It's the start of the new year. All right, Illinois primary.
There will be an apology. The first day of spring is a worldwide thing, not just an American jingoistic America first thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that description the equinox happens around the planet.
I'll give you a half apology because you really were just thinking about the United States, Larry. You admitted it. You confessed, but I apologize.
He doesn't mind that.
All right. Illinois primaries. There's a bunch of themes implicated here. Question of the governor's political power. Questions of when you've got 2 strong black female candidates, whether it doesn't serve their interests well in the Senate primary for the open Durban seat. You've got APAC money in there, big. You've got money in there from what do you call it, AI and crypto. So there's a lot of themes. It's all about the Democratic primaries. I don't think any of these races implicate who's going to win in the general. Jaime, what are you watching? What should people look at the results to see in all those various thematics?
I need like 2 hours to talk about this. This is my favorite subject to talk about the last couple of days. I love Illinois. I love Illinois politics. And in true form, they have proven to maintain all of its weirdness and ridiculousness.
Why do you love Illinois politics?
I just do. I mean, as a student of politics, I love it. And I'm from Louisiana, so there's some similarities there. But look, so corruption. A couple things.
Amongst other things.
J.B. Pritzker, who's soon to be third-term governor, first governor in quite some time, who has not been indicted. So here's gonna happen. So J.B. Pritzker is gonna get renominated. And that's gonna be fine. He's gonna win by 20 points. You know, it's gonna be a rematch of the Republican who ran against him last time. So that's gonna happen. The most important race that people are watching right now is the Senate race. Dick Durbin's retiring. We have 3 Democratic members of Congress who have, or 2 who are going head-to-head, and then 1 lieutenant governor. And so what's been happening is Raja Krishnamoorthi, who's a member of Congress from the suburbs of Chicago, has raised more money than God himself over the last 5 years. He's been running for the last 5 years. He knew that he wanted to be senator, regardless if Dick Durbin was going to retire or not. He wanted to be a senator. He's run a really good campaign. He's been very involved in constituent services on the ground, and he's spent a lot of money on TV. You have Robin Kelly, a representative who's been endorsed by the Progressive Caucus, endorsed by the Black Caucus, who is a clear progressive in this race. She has not raised as much money. She has a decent profile in Chicago. She's a wonderful person, and she is looked at as sort of the third of the top three. And then you have the one everyone's talking about right now, Juliana Stratton, who's a lieutenant governor. She was a two-term lieutenant governor for J.B. Pritzker. She ran with J.B., had never run before, has never raised her own money. But J.B. Pritzker has put many millions of dollars into her campaign, and super PACs that are affiliated with the Pritzker family and Pritzker friends have put a lot of money into this campaign. And I think, albeit from that money, she would not have had a fighting chance to raise her own money. Now, here are the three issues. You have Rogers' money, you have two black women who people think are going to split the vote in Chicago and in some of the urban areas, and then you have the Pritzker effect. And so everyone's trying to figure out how all of that sorts out. But what I believe, and I've seen some polls, people think that Roger's going to knock it out. Roger he's been on top of the polls consistently, but albeit the last week, where Juliana Stratton there's new polls to show that she may edge him out by a point or two. So this is going to be a lot closer than people think. And I think that the politics people are talking about, will this thing portray a bigger future for J.B. Pritzker, or will this be just another loss, or will it be his first loss that he needs to notch? So I think those are the things that we're dealing with right now.
Brilliant, and there's no runoffs here, guys. So you can win the Senate. You can win a Senate seat with 22% of the vote. Larry, do you even know who the Republican nominee for the seat's going to be?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. Larry, any thoughts? I mean, Iowa was encyclopedic and comprehensive, but
isn't there a subplot going on here with the Congressional Black Caucus potentially at odds with J.B. Pritzker, who would love to still have a lane for the Republican nomination for president?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So look, I mean, I think the caucus and I think the chair lady and I think they've been very, very prudent in making sure that they are standing up for their caucus member Robin Kelly. Juliana Stratton is not a member of the caucus because she's not an elected member of Congress, but Robin Kelly is. And so, like, that's just one thing that they are going to have to contend with later. But I think but you have, Senator Elsa Brooks, who has endorsed Juliana Stratton, who's a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. You have Senator Warnock, who said that Warnock said he's not going to endorse. He's going to see how things play out. And so there is some dissension in the caucus, but I do think that the caucus chair was right in her approach to, support Robin Kelly, who's been a great member of the caucus.
I got to go back.
Do you know the Republican nominee for this?
I don't, because the Republican Party is as dead in Illinois as the Democratic Party is in Florida, so I don't need to pay attention to what they do. Do you guys know who Joe?
Absolved.
Yeah, you're absolved. Do you guys know who Joe Kent is? Joe Kent.
In what context?
In what context?
Could be a sideline reporter for.
He's the he's the director of he was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Retired Green Beret, Gold Star husband, father of two amazing boys, 278,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think he ran for Congress, right? Or did he run for Congress?
Yeah.
Anyway, he just quit. He was a top aide to Tulsi Gabbard, and he says this on Twitter moments ago. After much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran poses an imminent threat to our nation. And it's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It has been an honor serving the president, Tulsi Gabbard. Michael, this guy ran for Congress, or was he in Congress? I'm trying to remember. I think he did, from like Washington State. Anyway, those are pretty incredible words from a guy who, up until moments ago, was a senior counterterrorism official in our government. Jaime, thoughts on this? Will this get a lot of attention?
I don't know if I think it's a lot of attention anymore, but I think this will be banked, and then some Democrat will use this in an ad, in the future, or but I don't think this is going to be something that steals the news cycle for the day or for the week.
Yeah, Larry, he speaks for tens of millions.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's running again.
Did he run for Congress?
I'm asking some sources. Hopefully I'll get something for you by the end of the program.
Okay. About whether he ran for Congress, about whether he's this.
No, about what Whether there's something
He ran
deeper
for
here.
Congress, but he
He
didn't
ran for
want to
Congress.
see.
He did in Washington. Yeah. I always thought he was a little flaky. I don't know. It's hard to imagine somebody working for Tulsi who's a little flaky, but when in charge of the Maine Senate. Lastly, there's a new ad. Again, the Democrats have a primary. How about when's that primary?
It's not until May.
May? It's the first week of June.
First week of June. So we're a little bit away here, but it's a critical one because if Democrats have any chance to win back the Senate, and I'm working on some reporting now for next up, the chances of winning the Senate are not nearly as good as people think. But they cannot win the Senate back if they don't win Maine. And Susan Collins has got tons of money. John Thune is determined to spend millions and millions to make sure she wins. And the Democrats have this primary between the governor, Mills, and Plattner. What's his name?
Graham Plattner.
Plattner. And he's taken a lot of beating from the media, and now he's going to take a lot of beating from Governor Mills. Here's her new ad, very hard-hitting, in the Maine Senate primary. Roll tape, please.
Did you know Graham Plattner wrote that women worried about rape need to, quote,
not get so fucked up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to.
It's disgusting.
Plattner wrote to avoid rape, women should, quote,
act like an adult for sake.
Graham Plattner, seriously.
We blame the victim? That's a horrible thing to say.
Disqualifying. I have not seen this.
He's a bully.
This guy gives off a vibe.
Just no way I could vote for you.
No.
Graham Plattner, the closer you look, the worse it gets. I'm Janet Mills, and I approve this message.
Okay, whoa. First of all, Chaim, I'll ask you both. Is it clear to you who the stronger general election candidate is at this point, Plattner or Mills? Is it clear to you?
No, it's hard to say. And look, and full disclosure, my friend has an office there, and some of my colleagues are involved in this race and
working for whom?
No, not working for anybody, just friends of. But okay. I have a lot of colleagues who are really close with the governor and who think that she will emerge as the better contender for the general election. But she's proven that she's a fighter. So this ad shows that she's willing to slap back, and you can't F with her.
Yeah, Larry, is it clear to you who the stronger general election candidate is?
It's not, because I know that Plattner's going to attract a lot more money and a lot more grassroots energy as a populist, and the AOC's Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, and that I don't know if that translates to victory in Maine, but in a weird way, not comparing the personalities involved, but this feels like Maine's version of the Texas primary.
That's exactly what I was.
And Cornyn. You know, it's very, very similar. Not that Ken Paxton has a Nazi tattoo or anything. But I think that's a super effective ad, and it certainly tells you who Janet Mills and probably Graham Plattner also thinks the electorate, who's going to make this decision. Look at every single ad. Those are white suburban women in Maine. That's who she's targeting, obviously. What's interesting, though, is if you look at a rally that Graham Plattner goes to, the women in the crowd are not that old, and they're more hippie-like. You know, they're the Maine has a very grungy hippie kind of subculture there, and they're the ones coming out for Graham Plattner now. It's very much a microcosm of where the Democrats are.
So whenever I see an ad like that with real people, often they're actresses or actors. Those people had names and Maine towns on them. How does a campaign find people like that for an ad? Does it matter if they're supporters of the campaign as opposed to real people? Do they audition them? How does that work?
No, you would prefer if it's supporters of the campaign. Well, look, she's been a governor. She's two-term governor, so she knows almost everybody. And these are probably women that she knows personally, and she has chatted with them about these things, and she probably put this together in some ways herself. And so I don't think this is a matter of auditions. I think these are a matter of her sitting at the table and saying, hey, call Gail, from Portland, or call, so-and-so from wherever. And so I think she probably had a lot more to do with this ad than typically a candidate would. You see these kind of emotional ads every now and again. You'll see them pop up where a candidate really cared a lot about putting this particular ad out. And I think this is one of them.
You think it's possible that they're actresses?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, can I ask you, if this doesn't work and Janet Mills still, ends up on the losing end of this, in the general, would this exact ad work in the general election on behalf of?
You brought it up. It's just like the Texas thing, just like Cornyn's last two ads against Paxton. This was a gamble that Janet Mills had to take because she's got to make the run. She's got to get through the primary. This could come back and bite Graham in the butt if he becomes a nominee for sure.
How would you advise him to respond to that ad?
I mean, look, he's having a hard time responding to a lot of these things. I mean, look, he's got the tattoo. He said these things, and so the only thing he can do right now is continue to prove that he's trying to expand the way he has thought about these things, particularly issues around women, and he wants to move forward. It's harder to respond to unless these are lies, unless his voice was distorted or there's some AI use of it. It's going to be hard for him to combat this, aside from just moving forward and saying that he's moving forward.
I think that was AI simulating his voice. I don't think he read that thing. I think that was off a blog or something. I think that was an AI voice.
He posted it on Reddit.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, there's more stuff. There's more women-related stuff out there on him. It's just.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway,
I honestly, after that ad, and they could do an ad on the Nazi tattoo and all the other stuff, and he attacked Maine. He talked about how horrible Maine is. I just think if this is the path she's going down, she'll be the nominee probably. But it's hard to see him, as Larry, you pointed out, it's hard to see him surviving a general election because Susan Collins will run all the same ads. She might just literally run the same ads.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's what Janet Mills is trying to say. She's like, look, I am the stronger candidate, and I'm proving to you right now. Yeah. And I think that's been pretty effective in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah. All right. A word from our new sponsor, and then to your questions, please raise your hand if you want in on the conversation. Very happy to have Shopify as a new sponsor here, and you can get a free trial for $1 a month with the promo code MARK. I'll tell you how in a minute. If you've got something new you're trying to get started, a new podcast, a new business, any idea you want to get started, do what so many people have done. Use Shopify. It's a commerce platform. It's helped millions of businesses get launched around the world. 10% of all e-commerce in the United States is done by people who are using Shopify. You basically can go on there. The AI-powered tools will allow you to build your online presence. Everything you need in one place: inventory, payments, analytics, marketing tools. It's time to turn those what-ifs into... That's our weak sound effect. We got to get a better sound effect than that. Turn it into dollars. Use Shopify. Again, if you sign up now, you get $1 a month trial. Go to shopify.com/mark. Again, go on and look at it. If you're trying to launch something and you want to have a presence in the world, make money, go and look at it. Shopify.com/mark. That's shopify.com/mark. Shing.
Mark Halperin's morning meeting continues live in just a moment. You're listening to the Megyn Kelly Channel, Sirius XM 111.
And the Oscar goes to...
Get closer to Hollywood's biggest night on the Sirius XM app. Explore exclusive interviews with Oscar nominees.
Joseph Kosinski, the director behind F1.
Deep dives into this year's Best Picture contenders.
His ability to tell a story and immerse an audience, it's real.
Post-show recaps and reactions from our pop culture pros and more.
I just got chills, dude.
Just search Oscars on the SiriusXM app for your award season fix.
Yeah, I'm excited. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/Slater.
At BritBox, character is everything. Stream the iconic characters defining British TV on BritBox, including Ludwig.
I think I might just have solved a murder.
Vera.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Agatha Christie's Poirot.
Bonjour.
And more beloved favourites.
I'm a policeman. I'm a professional. I'm a Time Lord. I'm the Duchess of York.
Once you know them, you never quite forget them.
I ain't being vain. I just am special.
Stream the best of British TV on BritBox. Watch with a free trial today at BritBox.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it,
Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-543-3399. That's 800-543-3399.
Mike Chappell here, Patriot Software's founder. My third successful business employed over 30,000 W-2 employees in all 50 states. That's when I learned there are different employment laws and payroll tax laws in all 50 states and in every U.S. city, making payroll one of the most complex areas of business. That's why I created Patriot Software, to make payroll simple for millions of American businesses. Use our simple do-it-yourself software at patriotsoftware.com.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owe a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000.
Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief took care of Eric's problem.
And now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892.
Optima Tax Relief.
Hey everybody, Mark Halper here. Welcome back to the morning meeting. You just listened to Haima Moore and Larry O'Connor and I run through things. Don't have much time, but if you've got a question, give me a call. And let's talk. 833-446-3496. 833-446-3496. The president's going to be interesting to see if the president does talk to the press today, how he addresses the regime there. I think the focus has moved from, to some extent, a pretty singular focus on the Strait of Hormuz and the question of Iran's control there, to the question of whether there's going to be an off-ramp, whether the regime in Iran is so decimated, is so wounded and non-functioning, still haven't seen the new Ayatollah in public, that they'll be desperate for a deal. And I think the Iranians don't get the reality, which is Donald Trump's not going to accept kind of a partial deal. He's not going to let up the military throttle until he's crushed the Iranians sufficiently that the deal that they do accept, the deal that eventually happens, is kind of revolutionary. Not just making sure Iran's not a missile power, making sure Iran's capacity to threaten its neighbors with terrorism are limited, but giving up the nuclear material, the enriched uranium, as well as Donald Trump wants what he got in Venezuela. He wants part of the Iranian oil revenue, and all these things, even if they're not accompanied immediately by regime change, would so fundamentally alter the connection that Iran has had to power, how they've used the threats that they've made in the region to gain power. It'd be a fundamental change. So it'll be interesting to see. The president's talked less about regime change lately. He's been downplaying the prospect of a deal. But at some point, most analysts of the region say America's going to be willing to talk, but the Iranians are going to have to move a long way from the way they've been postured. And this is one of the central debates we've seen, which is all these attacks simply making the Iranians desperate to survive, and so they're even less likely to make a deal? Or at some point, do they reach a tipping point where they have no choice but to make a deal? Fascinating, because we see through a glass darkly when it comes to Iran. We don't know, even before the conflict, we don't know who's running the government. We don't know who's in charge. We don't know what kind of command and control they have. They don't have none, because stuff's happening. Some analysts say this is kind of a phantom last gasp, and anything that's happening is not coordinated. But there appears to be at least some level of coordination. Morning meeting every day on Two-Way, on the platform two-way.tv, and watch us on our YouTube channel and on X. And then we roll right into our second hour here on the Megyn Kelly channel here on Sirius XM 111. You can join us on both platforms to be part of the conversation and hear a conversation like no other. That's what we call our shows, the Two-Way. More of a conversation that you might hear in a newsroom, you might hear in a political context where people are talking about things, less to fight about them and more to educate and understand. I'm Mark Halpert. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Sirius XM channel 111, Sirius XM, the Megyn Kelly channel. Again tomorrow, 10 a.m. East, playback of the morning meeting, and then you. I'm Mark Halpert again. Thanks for being part of Two-Way. We'll see you on Wednesday.
this is Conan O'Brien. Check out my channel, Conan O'Brien Radio, on Sirius XM 104. You'll find my delightful Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, highlights from my late night shows, showcasing some of the most absurd and hilarious moments from my decades on television. Plus, dive deep into 28 years of late night memories and behind the scenes with Conan O'Brien Radio, only on Sirius XM Channel 104. Or listen to the Sirius XM app. Are you tired of getting hammered by high interest debt, mortgage over 6%, credit cards and car loans at 10-20%? Loan Pronto is here with the answer you've been waiting on. The all-in home refi. One fast, easy solution to lock in the lowest rate in 3 years and wipe out all those nasty loans. One homeowner got their APR down to 4.99%, paid off over 80 grand in high interest loans and saved over $2,000 a month. And here's the best part. While some lenders charge up to $10,000 in fees to do this, Loan Pronto's cost is just $995. $995 and you can wipe out your high-interest loans all at once. It's the all-in refi from Loan Pronto. Super fast, super clean. No hard credit pull up front. Often no appraisal. And you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Loan Pronto. A+ BBB rated with nearly 3,000 5-star Google reviews. Call now and ask about the all-new all-in refi. 855-2-PRONTO. LoanPronto.com. 855-2-PRONTO. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Visit NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
The VIP sale is happening now at CB Distillery. For a limited time, you can save up to 50% on everything when you use code SALE. It's the perfect time to stock up. If you're looking for better sleep, battling daily stress, or trying to ease that nagging pain after exercise, CB Distillery has plant-based solutions for you. CB Distillery has options to support sleep, less stress, pain after exercise, mood, and focus. And yes, they've got CBD for pets, too. Every CB Distillery product is made with premium quality, clean ingredients, no fillers or anything artificial. And with over 2 million customers, CB Distillery is the trusted name in CBD. So if better sleep, calmer days, or natural relief sound good, this is your chance to save up to 50% site-wide with code SALE. But hurry, it won't last long. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code SALE to save up to 50%. That's cbdistillery.com, code SALE. cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. These statements have not been evaluated by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Tired of that outdated bath or shower but dread the cost and hassle of a lengthy remodel? Let Jacuzzi Bath Remodel come to the rescue with the perfect bathroom remodel at a price you can afford. Maybe stepping over that high bathtub feels unsafe, or you want to add a beautiful bath your whole family can enjoy. Whether it's a safer, easy entry shower complete with grab bars and a custom seat, to a beautiful spa-like family bath that's functional and stylish. With a Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, you can enjoy your personalized bath or shower installed in as little as 1 day. Right now, we're waiving all installation costs, plus offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. To schedule your free design consultation and quote, call now. Call 800-384-6884. That's 800-384-6884. 800-384-6884. With purchase and installation, financing through third-party lenders, subject to credit approval. No interest and no payments if paid in full within 12 months. Interest charged from purchase date if not paid in full. Not all will qualify. Call dealer for details.
At Swish Funding, we fund small businesses like yours from $25,000 up to $2 million with cash in your account in less than 24 hours. If you've been in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000, you can unlock financing with rates as low as 8% and flexible payment terms tailored to your business needs. Apply today at swishfunding.com. That's SWISH funding.com.
Welcome to Real Clear Politics on the Megyn Kelly Channel, Sirius XM 111.
Welcome to Real Clear Politics on Sirius XM for St. Patrick's Day. It's Tuesday, March 17th. I'm Andrew Walworth, and joining me are RCP President and co-founder Tom Bevan, Washington Bureau Chief Carl Cannon, and White House correspondent Phil Wakeman. So, Phil, let's start with you and the Vice President. You have a piece on J.D. Vance on the front page of RCP today. He has had breakfast this morning with the Irish Prime Minister, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But let's start with your give and take with the Vice President in the Oval Office yesterday. Here's a little bit of what went down.
I know what you're trying to do, Phil. You're trying to drive a wedge between members of the administration, between me and the president. What the president said consistently, going back to 2015, and I agreed with him, is that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We have taken this military action under the president's leadership. I think all of us, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, should pray for its success and pray for the safety of our troops. That's the approach that I've taken. Make it as successful as possible.
So there's no hesitation, given your past statements, with the current operation?
What do you mean there's no hesitation with my past statements?
Given your skepticism of foreign adventurism, you were correct with the global war previously.
Well, I think one big difference, Phil, is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past we've had dumb presidents. And I trust President Trump to get the job done, to do a good job for the American people, and to make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. Absolutely.
So, Phil, we do hear that there are some people in the White House who are very worried about Iran. Is J.D. Vance one of them? And were you convinced by his answer?
He looked a little annoyed at you, Phil.
Maybe a little bit.
I detected a little anger in his voice. Maybe not anger, a little annoyance.
We were there in the Oval Office for an executive order signing, naming the vice president the lead of this new task force to go after fraud in the federal government and its interactions with the states. It's a little bit like DOJ, but different this time. And I took the opportunity to ask him about these strikes in Iran, because one of the things that we've been hearing, as Andy and Tom just noted, is there's a lot of worry among this administration that President Trump ordered these strikes on Iran, hoping that there would be a similar situation to the operation in Venezuela. But now, not only is the war not over, but there's the possibility of, a global energy crisis. There's a possibility of this thing metastasizing. And for both Trump and Vance, the question here really is, you had campaigned on no new wars, central to Vance's political brand since he entered politics was his skepticism of the global war on terror, born from his very real experience with it. This is someone who raised his hand and joined the Marines and deployed to Iraq. So his answer there, I think he was a bit prickly, but no, reporters are not trying to drive a wedge between the president and the vice president. I could care less whether or not they get along. I'm interested in Vance as the heir apparent of the Republican Party. What does he actually believe? And so what we got from Vance there is a regurgitation of his answer that, Iran couldn't get nuclear weapons, even though previously Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons. And he said that war with that power would be a mistake. And then he followed up and sort of explained away some of his adherence to anti-interventionism by saying, well, the difference between the George W. Bush and Barack Obama years and now is that previously we had dumb presidents. Now we have Donald Trump, who we trust.
I love how he tried to play a little dumb himself by, when you asked that question, what are you referring to, Phil? It's like, dude, you've been like the anti-intervention guy for a long time, so I thought your follow-up was excellent. And then, but to his credit, I think that was a pretty good response on his part, right? It's
to his credit. Hold on.
To his credit, yes.
Whoa. We've had dumb presidents before. Did he mean Franklin Roosevelt? I don't think he meant Lincoln. Did he mean Dwight Eisenhower? John F. Kennedy?
No, I think he was speaking
Jimmy Carter?
George W. Bush.
Oh, so Trump is... So their thing is that Trump is smarter than George W. Bush. Okay, they can say that if they want. I don't think you'd say he was smarter than Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, went to the Naval Academy and, majored in physics.
Listen, at least at this point in the conflict, if we're calling it a war or not, he does still have the defense that he is not, that Trump is not, sort of wading into a forever war in the Middle East, with these aspirations of democracy spreading and regimes change and nation building and all that crap, right? Now,
spreading democracy
it's only 3
around
weeks.
the world.
We've only been doing this 3 weeks, so when it's 3 months,
so
okay,
I'm going to say
to make that argument. When it's 3 years, then it'll be, that argument will no longer fly. But at least for now, I think J.D. Vance's comment, I would give him credit. I thought that was a smart response on his part.
But I want to ask, it's a schoolyard taunt. You're dumb, I'm smart. Come on. But Phil, really, what I want to know is what is really happening behind all this? Is Vance, when he has the president all by himself, telling him, this was a mistake, or you should do this?
Of course he is.
That? Of course he is. Well, is he, Phil?
Well, so Vance has been a voice of skepticism, and he isn't breaking with the president in public. That's job number one for any vice president. But there's been plenty of reporting noting that behind the scenes, ahead of not just Operation Epic Fury, but also Operation Midnight Hammer last summer when we struck the Iranian nuclear sites, that Vance was urging caution, that he was saying, hold on, even, the best laid plans when it comes to war can escalate. We don't know what will eventually happen here. And so, the Vance team, they've disputed the characterization that there's any daylight between him and the president. They've disputed the idea that he was pumping the brakes. The president told us at Real Clear Politics that Vance didn't take any convincing, but regardless of all of that, I think in the back of his mind, Vance has to know that a central tenet to his political brand is now gone. He rolled on the question of no new wars, and he can point to Trump's promise that we're not going to allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. The follow-up question there then is, well, Iran was trying to get a nuclear weapon during the first Trump administration, and you guys launched an operation that was much more limited than this one. Why did you decide to, throw the entire kitchen sink at it? Why are we now, desperate for allies to come to our aid in the Strait of Hormuz? It's a difficult political question for Vance, especially as he looks to 2028, and especially as this war that Trump hoped would end in a matter of weeks looks like it might have a longer shelf life.
But why? What do we expect from vice presidents? When I was covering George W. Bush, the president that J.D. Vance doesn't think had the candle power of Donald John Trump. People said Dick Cheney got us in that war, and people wrote that. They said, like a matter of fact. And that's always, and people who should have known better. That displayed to me a complete ignorance of how the White House works and the role of the vice presidency. Historically, vice presidents don't tell presidents what to do. That's never been the case. I don't think it's obviously not the case in this administration. And Phil, I think the American people are more sophisticated when it comes to this type of thing than your average political writer. I'm not talking about the four people on this show.
Of course not.
Because, Vance, we've seen J.D. Vance. One time we got a glimpse into the maneuverings behind the scenes. It was when Mike Walls put Jeffrey Goldberg on the signal chat chain, and this was a very limited action. Nobody remembers it. We wouldn't remember it at all, except for that the Atlantic was in the chain of command, bombing the Houthis in Yemen. And J.D. Vance expressed, reservations about it. So we're not making this up. He's right. That's what he does. But if he does it internally, do we really think that people expect him to resign or argue with the president in public? I think people get that the vice president is the number two guy.
I think that's fair. What we've seen from Vance thus far is the assertion that his pro-Trump, pro-war stance of today is not incongruent with the arguments that he was making on the campaign trail when he was sitting down with Tim Dillon, with Tucker Carlson, with a number of these podcast hosts, going in depth and explaining why not just war generally, but war with Iran specifically wouldn't be in the United States' best interest. If Vance gave a different kind of answer, where he said, here's where I was previously, I took a little bit of convincing, but, facts on the ground changed, perhaps that would be a bit different. He might get
Tom already liked his answer. I think Tom would like that answer even better, Phil.
Listen. My question, Phil, is this: how do you feel you might have contributed to the first Vance attack ad in the primaries next time around if someone comes swinging outside and it's a flip-flop, right? And that's a classic flip-flop video.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he and his team have to know that this attack is coming. Again, I think that this administration's real hope here is that victory will forgive a multitude of sins, that they will finish in a hurry and they're able to call it a day. The president told me, though, in a separate press conference when I asked him about some of the statements made by one of his crypto and AI advisors, David Sachs, who was urging him publicly on another podcast of all things to declare victory and leave. He said that that wasn't a good option because then another president, decades from now, would be faced with the same challenge. And so Trump clearly sees this as a generational opportunity to deal with a historic enemy.
Yeah. He is clearly, by the way, and he said, someone asked him a question the other day about the advice that he gave Trump that he was giving Trump. And he said, look, I'm not going to tell you what I say to Trump in the Situation Room. He is definitely going to have to thread this needle when he is running for president on his own. He will still be in office. Trump will still be the president. And he's going to have to, I think, depending on how this goes, as Phil said, defeats an orphan and victory has 1,000 fathers, right? If it's a win, he can just say, well, Trump did the job and we won. If it's still going on or it lingers or a lot of people die, then I think he's going to have to find some daylight between himself and the president, and that's going to be a very tough job for him, especially if he's getting attacked by, Tucker Carlson or somebody else from the left who's running for president, saying, MAGA promised no new wars, and here they are. And so we can't. All the people that are associated with this, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, everybody, they're disqualified from leading MAGA into the future, and that could be a real rift that we see play out, again, depending on how this whole thing goes.
You could see that argument being made on a Republican primary debate stage.
Absolutely.
Assuming that J.D. Vance shows up for Republican primary debates.
Wow.
Think he's going to skip?
Well, remember the playbook. Trump, he acted like he was nominee in waiting.
I don't know.
I think
his lead is big, but his lead isn't that big. I think JD's he's got to play ball.
All right. I want to talk about White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, who was in the news. She received a diagnosis of early-stage breast cancer. She's 68. Her prognosis is excellent. And here is President Trump yesterday talking about her at a meeting at the Kennedy Center board.
I want to also introduce Susie Wiles, who's fantastic. She's our chief of staff, and she's an amazing person, an amazing fighter. And she announced a minor difficulty, which will be in good shape for her. He'll be around for a long time. She had a diagnosis, you probably saw it. And she's going to take care of it immediately, as opposed to waiting. She said, let's do it now. I said, do it immediately.
So, Phil,
Dr. Trump.
Well, she posted on X. This is Susie Wiles.
I think he violated HIPAA yesterday, by the way, too.
Well, that's let me just tell you what she said. Okay? She said nearly 1 in 8 women in the United States will face this diagnosis every day. These women continue to raise their families, go to work, and serve their communities with strength and determination. I now join their ranks. She's going to keep working every day at the White House. Phil, our thoughts and prayers, all that sort of stuff. I mean, but this is really kind of a helpful moment, I think, because it's sort of, for someone to publicly say they got cancer, they're going to go back to work, encourages women to go get tested. I think that's all a good thing.
And Susie Wiles is the definition of a force of nature. Look at all of the men who were White House chief of staff for Trump during the first term who, were not able to keep that White House moving and rowing in the same direction. Susie Wiles has been. Yes, there are moments where, Trump's second term stands out in comparison to, Biden or Obama or George W. Bush. I'm not saying that it's not unusual, but in comparison to the first Trump administration, it's just night and day different. It's a much more professional organization. And I think that is because of Susie Wiles. It starts at the top and it filters all the way down to, the most junior press aide.
I was reliably informed by the media that Trump despised strong women, didn't like them, they threatened him.
Oh, Tom. So
But Susie Wiles, listen, Susie Wiles is a force of nature. I mean, she is. She's remarkable. And you know what? Other than that one interview she gave, she's been remarkably sort of behind the scenes.
You were talking about the Vanity Fair.
The Vanity Fair
series of interviews, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Which was so out of character.
Right.
I still don't even understand it, why she did that or how that came about. But she's done all of this by basically being not anonymous, but her name is not often in the headlines of these stories, and she does really. She makes the trains run on time.
That was last December. We should say that last December, and at the moment it happened, people thought, "Oh my gosh, this might end her career at the White House." Anything but. I mean, the ranks closed around her. The president gave her support, and she's came out of that in some sense, I think, more cemented in this position than before.
Well, her approach to the media reminded me that a comedian, I forget his name, he's from Boston. He said, he said he went to the shelter. I got a dog, and they say, average dog walks 3,000 miles in its life. And I thought, oh man. So I walked the dog to Miami and back. And then I turned to the dog and I said, "You're done." That's Susie Wiles' approach to the media, I think. She gave that interview to Vanity Fair. Now she's done. In all seriousness, I thought, Donald Trump, I don't say he's an unempathetic person. He doesn't often come across that way. And I thought in that announcement, he realized that he had empathy for Susie Wiles. He likes her. He respects her. I thought it was a nice human moment where he talked about it. And I agree with you, Andy. She's going back to work. We've had people. I've had people in my circle, women, our company, others in my personal circle who've fought through it, and the admiration I have for them is immense. And she, she's tough. She's a fighter. So I agree with you. I think it's inspiring to people that she's willing, just keep working through this. And maybe she'll have to take some time off. But I was impressed by what Trump said and what she's doing.
Yeah. All right.
That is an incredibly hard job, by the way. I mean, it does shoot up tons of people. Can you imagine? And especially for Trump in particular, it must just be unbelievably, an order of magnitude more difficult.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we'll take a quick break. You're listening to With Their Politics on Sirius XM. I'm Andrew Walworth. I've got Tom, Carl, and Phil, and we're all going to be back right after these words. Don't go away.
This is Real Clear Politics
on the Megyn Kelly channel, Sirius XM 111.
Shamrock your St. Patrick's Day with the return of St. Paddy's Day Radio. Pouring round after round of rowdy Irish anthems, all St. Patrick's Day long on Channel 28, or tap into an exclusive pub mix and start painting the town green right now. Just open the Sirius XM app and search St. Patrick's Day.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1839. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-1839. That's 800-575-1839. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
At BritBox, character is everything. Stream the iconic characters defining British TV on BritBox, including Ludwig.
I think I might just have solved a murder.
Vera.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Agatha Christie's Poirot.
Bonjour.
And more beloved favourites.
I'm a policeman. I'm a professional. I'm a Time Lord.
And the Duchess of York. Once you know them, you never quite forget them.
I ain't being vain. I just am special.
Stream the best of British TV on BritBox. Watch with a free trial today at BritBox.com.
Stop letting high interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off
than days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. It's a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity with no appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan uses AI-driven tech to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day with a rate that's at a 3-year low. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out all their credit cards, started a home improvement project, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,500. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much cash you can get. No hard credit pull up front. Imagine this time next week you could be credit card debt-free. Loan Pronto, A+ rated by the BBB with nearly 2,800 5-star Google reviews. Call 855-2PRONTO, loanpronto.com. 855-2PRONTO, loanpronto.com, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, unapproved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Real Clear Politics, a neutral, even-handed arbiter of political data.
You're listening to the Megyn Kelly Channel on Sirius XM 111.
Welcome back to Real Clear Politics on Sirius XM. I'm Andrew Walworth. I've got Carl, Tom, and Phil with me now, and I want to talk about the press coverage of the war in Iran. I'm calling it a war. I don't care. People can call it other things, but to me it's a war. Mark Penn has a co-authored a piece on the Wall Street Journal, pretty much accusing the press of featuring Iranian propaganda as news. He said in a previous tweet, the press is a drumbeat of negativity favoring the Iran regime. Coral, what do you make of the piece, and does he have a point?
He fleshed that out with 6 or 8 headlines in the New York Times, and it's one-sided coverage. Is the point he's making. I like to defend the press, especially when Tom is going on one of his famous
I'm chomping at the bit, foaming at the mouth over here.
But I've noticed this too, and it's a little bit alarming. I think we should stipulate it's a very difficult war to cover. It's an air war. We're not in these airplanes. It's hard to know what's going on the ground. CNN had a reporter, reported to be what the Iranian people are thinking. This reporter was in Beirut to talk to one person on the telephone. So it's hard. It's difficult. There are communications problems. The Iranian people are afraid. We don't really know what's going on. But having said that, Mark Penn, he said this. He and his co-author, is it Andrew Stein, Tom? Yeah. They leveled a pretty harsh accusation, and in a measured way, though. He said, it seems at times like they're rooting for America to lose, and that would be sort of a next. That's a next level. That's a Rubicon we don't want to cross on this hyper-partisanship that sort of epitomizes our politics right now, and I don't want to think that's true, but it's just a steady drumbeat of negativity. Now, I don't have positive news. I'm not saying that, and we've talked on this show that it's difficult to see how this works. But I warned at the outset of this. I hate to be one of those people who quotes myself, as I was saying on the McLaughlin show. But at the beginning of this, the Democrats have to be careful not to sound like they're rooting for Iran. And I think the Democrats, most of them have been careful. I do not know that most of the media has been as careful.
Tom, you think that's fair?
Totally fair. So I look at these headlines all the time, all day long. Early in the morning when we're putting the site together, putting up the news stories, I go to all of these major publications, excuse me, and the headlines are, yes, they're all geared toward. Now, look, things haven't gone. I think, in some sense, the military campaign has gone exceedingly well. And in other aspects, right, the government didn't fall. And, Iran has been able to strike back in limited ways throughout the region. And so those things are all true. But the coverage...
And close the Straits of Hormuz to normal traffic.
Sure, yeah. But the coverage has been, I think, focused on the sort of more negative aspects of the war. We have a piece on the site this morning from Al Jazeera, of all places, talking about the success of the military operations and how they've largely achieved their objectives in degrading Iran's military to the point where it's no longer able to really do much of anything. And those kinds of stories in the American media are I would say few and far between. And certainly when we talk about the commentariat, everybody on the, sort of left side of the spectrum, including Democrats, I think are all pretty much singing from the same sheet of music, which is this is a total disaster. And it's almost as if, to Carl's point, they're projecting, they're predicting, and they're almost hoping that, sort of trying to manifest it into being a disaster for political reasons. Because if it's not, then, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, Phil, it's not just the left. The president has plenty of critics now on the right.
That is true. That is true.
Who are saying the same things. But Phil, I did want to get your reactions, because this was this piece that Tom mentioned. It's an Al Jazeera, and it's remarkable for two reasons. One, I think it's a very cogent and interesting, well-written piece. So just on the merits, but also the source. It's in Al Jazeera, which is not known to be a sort of a mouthpiece for the Trump administration, we put it that way. But this is what he said. This is Mohammed Saloom. His name is. He's an assistant professor of international politics at Doha University. He said, when you look at what has actually happened to Iran's principal instruments of power, its ballistic missile arsenal, its nuclear infrastructure, its air defenses, its navy, and its proxy command architecture, the picture is not one of U.S. failure. It is one of systemic, phased degradation of a threat that previous administrations allowed to grow for 4 decades. And then he concludes this. He says, the absence of a public diplomatic blueprint does not mean the military campaign is failing. It means the campaign is ahead of the diplomacy. It's a sequencing problem, not a strategic one. Pretty interesting way to view it. And the implication, I guess, is that the military campaign has been more successful than people had anticipated,
including the media.
Yeah, we've killed so many of these guys. The president has complained about that. That we've got to wait now for diplomacy to catch up with what the military has actually achieved.
Yeah, the president was complaining yesterday that, as you said, Andy, so many in the Iranian leadership have been killed that it's difficult to know who to negotiate with. I'm not certain if that's more braggadocious or if that's actually just a reflection of the facts on the ground. One thing that's not in dispute is that the United States has completely degraded Iranian capacity, military capacity, and done so very quickly. I think that during the first week of the war, a lot of the headlines did focus on that absolute military overmatch. And now the question is, Iran is wounded. They still are making trouble. Some of our European allies are questioning the entire endeavor. And how do these secondary effects end up affecting the American public? No, Iran isn't, going to park an aircraft carrier off of the Potomac and threaten the United States homeland, and it doesn't seem like they're in any position to, strike Israel more than they are already. But the blowback effects here are what I think a lot in the U.S. press are waiting to see, and perhaps that is a result of the fact that like that the thesis of that piece posits that the military operation was so successful that diplomacy hasn't had a chance to catch up.
Hey, Carl, talking about the press, though, we do have this Federal Communications Commissioner, Carr, who he is actually now threatened to revoke broadcasters' licenses over their coverage of the war. This is what he said. He said, broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortion, also known as the fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up. The law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. Is that helpful? Jesus.
Well, Andy, I think that Brendan Carr is a menace to his own side.
Tom's in Brendan's camp, so we're going to...
In my mind, I'm like, okay, we're having him on the show. We're going to have him on the show.
I would like to have him on the show.
Yes, let's do that.
I think he's lost his way. J.D. Vance, you guys remember this. We were talking about Vance in the first segment. And one of the things, he was the most articulate person on the Republican side, maybe in the whole political world in 2024, and talking about censorship. He was talking about censorship from the Biden administration. And he
And he was asked actually in the vice presidential debate about, won't you admit that you lost the election and that Trump lost the election in 2020 and he's election denier and you kind of a gotcha question. And he parried it by talking about, well, yeah, I'm paraphrasing here, but yeah, it's a threat to have elections and the loser won't accept the outcome. But you know what a bigger threat is? Censorship from the government. And so, this guy, you talk about being off-brand, that's not right. To take away their license, and then it's government propaganda. And Andy, you know this. This whole post-war, and I mean post-World War II ethos of objectivity, trying to get the story right, trying not to be partisan, came after the war. But during World War II, we didn't, newspapers didn't do that. They talked about the enemy. And, it was clear who the enemy was. Vietnam changed all that. The media in this country realized that they had an obligation to tell the American people the truth, even if the truth was unpleasant. And most of these people writing for the New York Times now about the Iraq War, if you asked them, they'd say that's what they're trying to do. Now, Mark Penn and Ron and me, we've made this point that I think they may be gone too far, and that they shouldn't be rooting. You can't root against the country. You can't call us the enemy. But what Brendan Carr's talking about undermines that project. The project I'm talking about is reminding the media that we're supposed to be honest and not have an agenda. This guy's saying that we should go agenda. He's wanting to go back to sort of pre the World War II model. And I don't think that's where we are.
I think you mentioned the word hoaxes, Carl. I mean, it's like, we can't have this sort of George Costanza journalism. It's like, it's not a lie if you believe it. No, you can't just make stuff up. And by the way, the stuff that gets made up always goes only in one direction, right? We all know that. We can all agree with that. And so, let's have Brendan Carr on the show. Let's have a debate about this. I think it's a lot more nuanced than people portray in the media, his comments. And I've seen him talk about some of this stuff. I think he makes a reasonable case. And I think it's a debate that we should have, because I think journalism is broken and there is hardly any accountability.
Well, that won't fix that profession. Having the government decide who can print or air.
Well, okay, let's have a discussion about that. Bill.
Yeah, the only thing I would note here is that while conservative grievances about the media are longstanding, this does seem to be a development from, the early aughts, where you had Republicans, campaigning on and also warning their base that if Democrats ever got in control of government, that they would bring back the fairness doctrine, that talk radio would be dead, and that you didn't want government in that type of business because they would use it to squash their political enemies. Now it seems that, that fear is not one that registers over at the current FCC.
Yeah. Well, to me, it seems completely situational. I think that if, I think people are for censorship when they're silencing voices they disagree with, and on both sides, and that is the whole problem with censorship. That's why you don't want it. Aaron Tur,
well said, pal.
Well, here's Aaron Tur. He's the director of public policy.
This is going to be so awesome.
Okay. He is the director of the public policy at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, which is a group that actually does a